Hey, everybody.
Hey guys, maybe we'll just give a second here for some people to filter in. I'm sure
Am
there's a
I
lot
able?
of people excited to see this one.
Oh, yeah. Am I able to see people actually joining through the StreamYard?
It will give us a view counter. Right now we have 6 people watching.
Cool. Let's let a couple more people filter in here.
Yep.
Really excited to be talking about the reactor and AI today.
Cool. Yeah, just still on 6. Guys, if you're watching, please let everyone know this is not an AMA to miss. You're about to see a live reactor demo, and we're going to go into a lot more on this AMA. So if you're not watching, you're missing out. But this will be available in a recorded fashion on YouTube after the AMA is live. So yeah, just make sure to get it out there to as many people as possible.
Absolutely. And feel free to be asking questions, guys, especially any questions that have doubt or FUD wrapped into them. I'm glad to answer anything right now, transparently in front of everyone.
Yeah, worth noting, maybe for those of you who are here already, we have a couple of questions that have come up commonly that just people have given to us that we thought we are just going to compile all of them and address them, rapid fire motion right after the demo. So let a couple more people filter in here, and I think we can go straight into the demo. We currently have 7 here, but I'm sure they're going to join as the demo continues. Cool. Okay, so we are on 10 people right now. I think maybe it's a good time to jump into it.
Yeah, let's get started. Alrighty,
Awesome.
so I know you guys have been waiting for a while to see the reactor in action, and I'm excited to show you how that looks and also some of the updates that we've been pushing to it in the meanwhile. So let's make sure this presentation opens up correctly. Can you see my screen? Oh, infinite mirror. All right, let me move.
There you go. We can all see your screen.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to take some different contracts from projects that you all know well of and map them in the reactor. So first, we're going to have 1 inch, which everyone knows about. Oh, of course, they have an access restricted thing now because I'm in the US. Um, but here's their token. You can see the contract code on BST scan. So this is Binance Chain. It's almost 1,400 lines of code. Right now, if I was a developer or an auditor and I wanted to go through this code, I'd have to read through all the documentation. I'd have to read each line of code individually, especially the functions, to understand how everything works. Or I could simply copy the address, navigate to the reactor, open a new project, create it, and see it instantly mapped. And now that it's mapped, I can actually zoom into the code. So I can see the different features of the code. I can actually edit it just from the sidebar. I can even zoom in and push some edits just as an example. And mind you, I'm not a developer, but this is the constructor function. It's a function that's used when 1 inch was deployed. So it was only used once. After that, the function's never called again. But let me push some edits to it. So I'm just going to hit add. So you can see it adds new source code and instantly maps it. This code snippet is a new feature, this area here. I can actually also edit the code from these bubbles and make that a block statement and just edit these. Let me define this. 69, Sabo, check mark, and the constructor function is edited. You can see the source code is changed. I can compile, I can push, and Let me show you how this works with it just clean. So I'm going to take another contract now. This is 1 inch. Does anyone have any questions before I move on? Logan, do you have any questions?
I think not right now. I do just want to take this opportunity to say that if anyone does have any questions, we're welcoming viewers on board. So we're going to drop the StreamYard link later. So if you do feel like coming up here and saying a couple of things live, please feel free to join us. It's quite lonely right now.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, I'm just going to be showing this as a teaser for later. Please don't take any screenshots. Wink, wink. Anyways, let me navigate over to a slightly more complicated project. I'm going to discard this one. I don't need 1 inch anymore. Everyone's familiar with OpenSea. Probably all used it sometime in the past. Why is it not showing up on the first thing that shows up? It's the world's biggest NFT marketplace. They have millions of NFTs on the website, hundreds of millions of dollars of volume every single day. I'm actually going to take their Wyvern exchange. So a smart contract or a set of smart contracts that facilitates a lot of the trades on their infrastructure, which is on Ethereum. I'm going to take this code, which is almost 2,000 lines. Once again, instead of reading through these individual notes, instead of going through the documentation, spending hours doing that, and trying to, even as an auditor, understand every little connection within the code, which is why audits take weeks, even months. I'm just going to copy, once again. I'm going to navigate to the Reactor and upload OpenSea as a demo. So as you can see, I pasted it in there. It's the same contract address. I'm going to create a project and boom, here's OpenSea. As you can see, it's a complicated set of contracts, but I can see everything listed out. Everything is mapped. I can navigate through the different functions. I can even edit the different functions. As you can see, there's a lot of errors here. As an auditor, just this alone would take me hours to understand how these contracts interact, but I can actually see this. And if I want to, I can push edits. Like, I know exactly how to trigger specific errors within their infrastructure, and I can even make it work differently. So that'll remap the whole thing. And as you can see, now the tree is more balanced down the middle rather than going side to side, and I eliminated an error from the code just in seconds, and I'm not a developer. So here's OpenSea. And I'm going to do something even cooler for y'all because I love you guys. So if you noticed, we've actually already compiled these contracts, meaning we got them ready to deploy without me clicking anything. Here's all the contracts ready to go. I'm going to simply take my wallet address and I'm going to copy there. I will hit deploy at this address and boom, here you go. I deployed this contract to my address. You can see the transaction costs, execution costs, gas, everything. It's all within seconds. I uploaded OpenSea. I edited the contract to take out what triggered an error. And now I deployed a contract from OpenSea directly to our own virtual machine. And you guys might be thinking, like, that's way over my head. That's super technical. Long story short, it is really technical and it's really unique. You don't see this anywhere else in the market. People don't have their own virtual machine, their own programming language that can take different blockchains code and instantly map it, allowing anyone that's even not a developer like me to edit in seconds and then push to our own chain, essentially our own virtual machine. But that's what we have with the reactor. And some of the well, before I hop into that, is there any questions from anyone? I know I've kind of been on a tangent for a minute here.
Yeah, super cool tangent. And honestly, I think everyone is really impressed to see this. The scale and the scope of this can't be understated. There aren't any new questions apart from what we have planned right now. So what I think maybe we can go into is that really impressive demo that we were talking about before the call, and just show people what we can do with our back-endless service.
Absolutely. Some of you guys have been asking, like, do you guys actually operate without a back end? Like, what does that even mean? Why is that important? Long story short, guys, almost every business on the internet has to use a back end, and a back end is essentially a centralized server that stores people's data, and it facilitates encrypted storage, which is something that almost everyone needs. Um, and it literally costs over $100 billion a year to maintain backends across every industry. What we've done with the reactor is we've actually built all those functionalities I just showed you and talked about without a back end. So everything you see is on the front end, and it's encrypted in a new and unique way using quantum obfuscation layers, which means that it's quantum proof, and it's just sitting there on the front end. It's not incurring any costs. It doesn't, cost us a lot of money like backends do. It's more secure and it's faster, and I can actually prove that to you guys right now. So let me. I'm gonna connect using my phone, and I will show you me turning off the the Wi-Fi on my computer.
Cool. And while you do that and get that all set up, maybe I can speak a bit to the fact, or give a more context on why people traditionally use backends and what the issue has been thus far with front
I would
end
love that.
only software. So traditionally, in most tech stacks, you'll have a backend that will handle the big, heavy computation. It will also handle a lot of the more secure items like interacting with databases, where that doesn't get called directly from the front end, because it can introduce opportunities for people to exploit that code and reach the backend and commit functions that they shouldn't normally be able to commit. What we've done that's really, really impressive is everything is happening on the front end, but we do not have that security sacrifice that most companies deal with. Our front end is completely secure, and it would mean that not only can you have all the advantages that come with local software, the increased decentralized nature of what this can do, because there's no independent or there's no dependent variable here like a more traditional
Yeah,
backend, but you also get all of the security benefits that come with a traditional approach that would use that backend to kind of offload some of the security issues that doing it only on the front end has. We have solved that,
exactly.
and that's what the reactor represents.
Yeah, and essentially, a hardware wallet, what it does is it takes your code or your wallet, which is just a piece of code on the internet, and it takes it offline. It makes it impossible to interact with unless you have a physical connection. And you can imagine, like, if you're the military, if you're a defense contractor, if you're someone just building really valuable IP, and you don't want it to anyone on the internet to be able to hack your computer or have access to it, you could build something completely offline, like right in the reactor, and then only connect when you need to deploy it. So let me disconnect here, and I'm going to join via my phone. See you guys in a second.
Cool. And just a reminder to everyone that if you have any questions, drop them in the AMA channel. The ones that have been dropped so far, we're going to have a session at the end where we'll go through and address those. But also, we'd love a couple of new questions dropped live. Also, if you're on the YouTube channel right now, you can drop those questions in from there. So just waiting for TJ's phone to hop on, and then we're going to kick this off. Cool. Okay, I think TJ might be ready, so I'm going to add him in now.
Hey, I was born ready. This angle is not very flattering, but let me just hop right into it. I'm going to switch the camera around so you guys can see. So here I got the back camera built in. Can you guys see?
Yep. We can all see.
Cool. So I have the reactor here. You can see arcreactor.com, same URL. And I have the internet connection down here. As you can see, my Wi-Fi is off. And you know what? I don't know why it's showing this logo here. Let me turn off my VPN. That way people don't think I have a Ethernet cable plugged in. I can already see the FUD comments on Twitter trying to say I got Ethernet plugged in. All right, so you can see it's not connected to any internet, right? I'm gonna take it one step further. Let's put on airplane mode. And there we go. So here we have it, guys. The Wyvern Exchange. I have the contract pulled in here still. And I'm just gonna show you that all the functions still work. So here's the Exchange core. This is the most important contract in the stack. I can still navigate along the contract. And I can still open up functions. So let me just take this increment nonce and push some edits to it. So I'm just gonna add, gonna change the identifier to Boolean. I'll make that true. This if statement, and give it a certain denomination identifier. And as you can see, it's updating the source code as I go along, no internet connection. Then here's the cool thing. So I'm gonna take this code and it's been auto-compiling this whole time. The contracts have been compiling with these edits with no access to the internet. By the way, no internet access. It's on airplane mode. And now why don't we push some of these contracts? So I'm going to navigate over to Exchange Core, which is the one that I was messing with right here. And I'm gonna hit deploy. There you go. It's deployed to our own virtual machine, which is like our own blockchain, but it sits at even more of a core level because all chains on the EVM run on the Ethereum virtual machine. We have our own. I just want to emphasize that. Anyways, here's the logs. And you can see right here, it pushed. Of course, I had an error because I'm not a developer, but you can see that all the processes, it's editing, it's pushing, and it's going through the process and identifying that I did an error. So let's see what error I did. Creation of exchange, errored object. Let me see if I can get one of these puppies to creation of ERC20 pending. And just a reminder, guys, this is all organic. I did not plan this before the call. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had it show up as error. But as you can see, all these processes, they're working without an internet connection. Once again, still in airplane mode, no Wi-Fi, no internet. And stuff is still loading, going through. I have edits, the contracts, they keep, not a problem. So yeah, does anyone have any questions, comments?
Yeah, we first off, I mean, I just want to address on behalf of everyone that saw that how impressive it is. Also, you know, the kind of guts to as a non-developer. Yeah,
so
there
I
you go.
just pushed the contract to our own virtual machine. You saw it pop up live. It's the array utils or array utilities for long, and here you go. That's pushed without that internet connection again. So
awesome.
heck yeah.
Awesome. So I think as far as questions go, we do have one question that popped up here. I'm going to put it on screen. So McToken asks, obviously Reactor is very technical. ARC audits will show results for the average guy as far as I
Logan,
understood.
you cut out.
Can you, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, McToken asks, can you show us what an audit result would look like yet?
Do we want to show that yet?
No, I think they should just
Here,
be
I can
patient.
show
It's on its way.
what one of those processes looks like. Here, I'm going to connect my PC back to the internet. So give me a sec, guys. I will be reconnecting. And Logan, you could talk a little bit around the products that we're developing for that, what that would look like, and then I'll show them an example.
Speak to that right now, but we can say that extensive integration with this type of tech is coming to swaps. And I can also say that in the future, you will need to hold and or stake ARC in order to access that auditing tools that's coming up in swaps very soon. So very excited about that one. We've been doing a lot of hard work on that behind the scenes. Yeah, I'm just going to add TJ back here. He's back on his PC and switch this view. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, great answer, Logan. And I was just reading this MySpace comment. That's hilarious. Honestly, what's really funny is I probably wasn't even alive. Well, no, I just probably didn't even know what the internet was back when MySpace was a thing.
Yeah,
it's probably still in diapers. So, no, I'm glad that you like our tech. So, anyways, McToken. Yeah, let me just show you a little bit about what those audits are going to look like. And not only am I going to show you what they look like, I'm actually going to display the process of us finding potential exploits and one of the biggest companies in the world that's involved in blockchain. So let me open up screen share. Can you guys see? Yep. Infinity screen. Okay. So here's the reactor. I'm going to dump this project. I will close that out. And here we are. Here's Coinbase. I'm sure everyone's familiar with Coinbase. This is their GitHub. They have over 100 repositories. They have all kinds of code. As you can see, they're really active. And what I'm actually going to do, just for showing proof is in the pudding, instead of taking like an old contract that we might have poured over a million times and found errors in, I'm just going to pick one of these recent ones that was done within the past couple of days or weeks. We might have to go to the next screen. Okay, no, we have Solidity right here. So this is EIP token upgrade. Some contracts that they pushed recently. They have the explanation. Obviously, I don't have to read all of that or read through the code. I'm actually just going to take literally just the URL right from the GitHub. I'm going to navigate to the Reactor. Just call this Coinbase demo. And I'll paste it in there. Let's see how long this takes. Already done. You know, could hardly bat an eye. And here we go. Here is the EIP token upgrade. As you can see, I have the contracts laid out. But what is that? It's pointing to
it appears something is missing.
Exactly. And basically, whenever exploits or missing dependencies are found in code, it's either going to show it in the actual logic tree. So this logic tree, for example, could feature a potential exploit because everything is balanced way to the right. Or it's going to show just a missing area here. And that was essentially what an audit does, but in seconds and not spending thousands of dollars. But let me get a little more granular. So I can actually go to the problems and see exactly which files are missing. So the same files that aren't showing up here causing potential exploits in an audit, not only do I find those in seconds instead of paying thousands of dollars waiting weeks, but I know exactly which ones are missing. And you can imagine it's like, okay, that's pretty dang cool, but how are we going to compete against Certic? Like, I get that you guys are faster, the audits are better, but how do you compete against Certic? Well, the last piece, and this is really us competing against anyone that's doing audits, is the fact that every time an audit is done and a lot of money is spent, hours are burnt, as soon as a new line of code is pushed to that contract that was audited, the audit is worthless. And this is the problem that so many people are facing. They get a new line pushed in the middle of the night. All of a sudden, audit's worthless, project gets exploited, money's gone, and the team is gone with people's money. But imagine if a tool like this that can just do these things instantly was just out there on the internet. People could subscribe to it, and you could get live audits 24/7 of any coin that you're invested in, any smart contract you're invested into. The level of security that would be in the space that would, just drive the space forwards, because there's all kinds of barriers in the way, cost, time, and then just as soon as a new update is pushed, you have to get a new audit. Otherwise, the old one's pretty much worthless. And as you can see, this tool identified that and fixed that. So
one might even call it democratizing Web3 security.
Exactly.
Awesome. Cool. So TJ, did you have anything else on the Reactor side that you wanted to show us, or can we hop straight into some questions, because we know there are quite a few?
Let's hop straight into questions, unless anyone has something specifically they'd like to see in the Reactor demo.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything other than that comment about audits come through, but please do feel free to drop a comment if you guys want to see anything else. Now is your chance. Cool. We have a couple of people typing, so let's just hang on and see what they ask.
Hop on and ask questions on stage too. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop the StreamYard link in the AMA channel, so you guys can hop on there. You can just click that link and join straight in if you guys want to hop on stage and say a couple of things or ask a couple of questions.
Actually, let me I want to focus on one more piece. Well, actually, no. You guys can pour through this video and see if you can find any Easter eggs. There's a piece I didn't really cover, an update that was pushed to the Reactor. And anyone that finds that and talks about it's going to realize that it's huge. We essentially took our source code and our ability not to have to use a backend and packaged it into a much better solution that other people can take advantage of. Check that out.
Yep, that'll be interesting to see if anyone finds out. I know what you're talking about. I'm curious to know if anyone else picks it up. So we do have one question here from Arc Rules. Will there be a summary that explains what is wrong with the contract at Explain It Like I'm 5 level?
Yes, and we can even explain it to you like you're 3 or 4 in the future. That's why we're focused on building that database that can connect with different modules, AI modules. So think Bard, think GPT, and then think Lychee AI is like the general of all the different little AI models.
Yeah, that's I mean, overall, I think people have seen, they've almost felt, and I think that leads very nicely into the next question, which is we've shown this off, it's working, you can use it. When roughly can you give us a timeline around when we're planning to release this Reactor so that everyone can try it?
Yeah, so we're planning on releasing this summer. Ever since ChatGPT came out and the other AI models out there have been making a lot of progress, we realized that we kind of had to integrate our AI sooner than we thought in order to compete with them. So we've just been focused full tilt on our partnerships and integrating that AI. So, not just developers and auditors can take advantage of the platform, but the idea is that anyone, I mean, anyone in the comments here, anyone watching today, anyone at home would be able to visit the reactor and just talk to it, just like they talk to ChatGPT, but not just see results in text, but actually see maps and diagrams as well as text and explanations.
Awesome. And I think that also leads in very nicely to our next question, which is how far along are you in this AI upgrade? How long do you expect it to still take?
I'd say we're really far along. And that's for more reasons than one. So one of the reasons is, we're just further ahead in general than other AI projects out there, and that's projects just using like the GPT APIs. If you guys aren't familiar with the APIs, it's essentially just how someone connects their tech that they're building to something that's already established. Most projects using quote unquote AI are just connected to an API. They're not developing their own unique AI model, which we're doing. And we're ahead of them that are even integrating the AI models because our AI is actually working. And we've also bought our own AI engine, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, one People's Choice at NASA. And we own that IP, we're integrating that IP, and we are making great progress on that database that's going to connect different AI models as well as our Lychee AI to run it all within the reactor.
Awesome. I think there's some questions from the community I think we might address before we continue with the rest of the questions. So a couple here. Could this tech, as in the reactor, could this be used to develop traditional businesses in the future without a backend and no internet connection? And then as a follow-up to that, the user said, Web 2 traditional is what I mean. Could you use this to build a Shopify type store with Arc?
Yeah, so man, love the question, Mats. And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. So developing traditional businesses, what you're going to see is businesses that are based off of basic front end code. And they use like AWS or something, but they're going to migrate towards blockchain anyways. So they're going to want to use a solution like Arc that abstracts away the complexity, makes it a lot easier. But then not only are we letting people migrate to smart contracts, we plan to migrate Web 2 languages into the reactor itself. So the integration with the AI, and this is one of the things that I feel more comfortable talking about now is in the past there was like Rust, Golang, Python, all these languages, they might have taken months to integrate each, right? But with the advent of AI and the progress that the market has just been making, we're actually able to integrate languages into the reactors sooner. So think like your full tech stack from React to HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all the way through to Solidity, Golang, Python, whatever it is, we're going to have that integrated into the reactor. So it'll be easier to migrate. But then on top of that, I don't just want to make it easier for people to build. Some people are still not going to want to touch code, even if they can just talk to the reactor to do that in the future. Some people are just going to want an API to connect to, which is something I want to offer. So that second question, Web 2 traditional, could you build a Shopify type web shop? Yes, you can with Arc, but in the future, I also want to provide an API so anyone from anywhere can just connect to our technology that requires no back end and take advantage of the cost savings and the security. So that's a vertical that we've still been looking at. We're super focused on the reactor as it exists right now, but that's a whole market that, billions of dollars is spent there a year. You have Google Cloud, AWS. They just charge thousands of dollars a month to these websites, like the Shopify type one you're talking about right now. When these websites could just connect to something like the reactor, connect to our encryption features through an API in the future, and take advantage of more security, just a faster website in general, as well as much cheaper.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, that entire answer just reflects the broad scope of what the fundamental technology can be applied to. Our focus, obviously, right now is very narrow as we're trying to pull off, something in a specific niche or a specific space, but incredibly broad applications that could potentially be used in the future. Lots of verticals. Another question here from a user, Eugene. Does it mean that you're shifting the Reactor's narrative toward audits? Is it going to be one of the Reactor's features, or are you pushing it as the main feature?
Yeah, so great question, Eugene. And this kind of wraps into that question I see down there by Nuno Diaz. We want to focus on audits first, if that makes sense. It's a really easy narrative to digest, because unfortunately, like, human nature is to doubt. And we don't have, people sitting here with an open mind like you guys looking at our tech and just seeing it for what it is. And unfortunately, like, some people we talk to, they don't believe that we can do these things. They don't believe that it's quantum proof. They don't believe that it doesn't require a back end. And it's hard for them to wrap their heads around that. And one of the pushbacks we've been getting in general is just how complicated our project seems, and like, how on earth can we tackle all these huge things all at the same time? Because if Google can't do it, AWS can't do it, why on earth can a team of 8 people called ARC do it, right? But that's exactly what we are doing. And we're just refining our narrative to focus on audits first, because it's a lot more digestible, and you can sit down with a person and explain to them the audit features of the Reactor much more quickly than everything else. And when we roll out that product that creates audits in seconds, we want to have organic campaigns around it where people will essentially edit their code as well. They'll push code to different chains, and people start to realize, oh, this isn't just an auditing project. And we'll expand on that from there. But as for investors, VCs, that's a big narrative that we want to focus on, as of right now, is auditing.
Awesome. Yeah, I think one other question that you did briefly touch on there would be the chains. Just for Brett, who doesn't know, what types of chains does the Reactor work on? Is it limited to certain chains?
Yeah, so it works with all EVM compatible chains as of right now, as well as EUL and bytecode. So EVM compatible means Ethereum virtual machine compatible. So that's all chains that are just built on top of the EVM. So you have Ethereum, you have BSC, you have, there's over 20 chains out there that are built on the EVM. A lot of those are integrated with our swap right now. The Reactor works with them, but in the future, once we integrate other languages, it's going to work with other chains that are based on different languages, like Rust. That would be Solana, for example, or Cosmos, or Near in the future.
Awesome. Cool. So I think leading on nicely from that, maybe just we touched on audits, we touched on how that's a more digestible narrative for investors specifically, and for just our general audience to understand and digest. But outside of audits, what are the primary other use cases of the Reactor?
So the other primary use cases would be fixing actual exploits that you find in the code, as well as building in general. So let's say you're building a project in the future, and I can actually, well, let's not leak some of the UX and UI we've been working on. But so imagine you're in the Reactor. I showed you guys the process, and I can actually, why don't I just open that up again so you guys can see what I'm talking about? So I'm going to take this URL again, go to the Reactor, paste, in seconds again. Anyways, so we have the code here, and let's say you're just, you don't want to click back and forth. You don't want to learn what all these different tabs mean. It's just all too much, right? You're not a developer, you're not an auditor. Let's say you're an investor and you want to understand like how the project that you're invested into works, or you want to build your own bot that can trade for you. Well, you're gonna have a chat box right here, and in this chat box, you'll be able to say, "Hey, build me a liquidity pool." And for example, let's say there's a liquidity pool. Boom, it would populate it for you. You'd say, "I want mint features. I want burn features," and it would build mint and burn features. You would say, "Add, a million tokens to the pool," or add an increment and a decrement feature. Or you'd explain it as a 5-year-old would, like add, subtract, and plus features, and it would add that. But the difference between this and ChatGPT is it's not just going to spit out code that looks like magic to people, right? That they can't understand. It's going to show a diagram that they can easily see. Then you can press deploy, or you can just say, "Hey, deploy this to Ethereum for me." It'll populate a button, you press send, and then it'll send it out. So I'm not sure if I went down a whole other tangent, but that's the other use cases will be anything people require in Web3 natively. So that's building, that's asking questions about a contract, that's understanding the potential exploits in something you're invested in, right? That's proving that the exploits are there. Like, just imagine what the space will be like when, someone's building another rug pull out there, but just anyone can take the reactor and run a quick audit just by asking it, and then post that on Twitter and tag that project. Like, no one's going to invest in it if there's an obvious exploit there with the proof attached. And the ceiling for people being able to run audits, it's going to go from very small size of the population to literally everyone. We're empowering everyone to take up the sword against bad actors. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. You don't have to have thousands of dollars. You don't need months of time. You're going to be able to create audits showing the exact issues in contracts. You'll be able to fix certain issues in contracts. You'll be able to do everything that faces smart contracts from the reactor.
Yeah, that's such again, kind of alluding back to that fundamental tech. It's almost hard to say what it can't do versus what it can do at this stage. And our focus we need to be focused. We're a small team, and we're trying to achieve a lot. But in terms of where this could go, it could go to a lot of places. But I think this is a time maybe where we can focus that question a bit more and start speaking about practicals, what's coming in the future. So Yoda-san asked, what and when is the initial Reactor version going to be? So what can we expect to see on first impact with other users?
So like users outside of testing, like when we first release it?
Yes, the first, actually, maybe that would be a worthwhile question, is in open beta has been delayed. It was supposed to happen a couple of weeks ago, and we haven't really spoke much about this since. So what will the kind of process look like from here on until users can kind of jump on and everyone can use it?
Man, I really want to screen share the other piece we've been working on. So we're packaging this tech right in a product that everyone in DeFi knows how to use. And I mean, you'll see the results for yourself of what that looks like and how people are going to react when they're posting on social media about it. So I know that's kind of an answer full of vagary, but it's going to make a lot of sense when you see it released.
Yeah, and there are, and I can say this, there's definitely some stuff in the marketing workup that is going to impact or make first contact with users soon, and I'm sure this will become a lot more clear. So maybe just another thing that we can touch on also from Yoda-san would be, what is the current involvement of the advisors in the project, and how's the funding going?
Great question. So the current involvement from the advisors is them just helping us get that narrative packaged down more. And I'm going to tag on to Eugene's questions that I see here as well. We've developed so much, and the Reactor has so much versatility. Like I said, it's hard for people to believe that. So it's focusing on the audits, but then it's having, on the advisor side of things, it's building a pipeline of partners. Like the advisor we announced the other day, Mike Segal, great guy. I mean, if any of you guys have looked into him, you know he has a massive network. He's a partner at 500 startups. He was an executive on an IPO'd company. And it's building this pipeline with these guys. So as soon as we have our MVP and our narrative is hammered down, we can just distribute out to all kinds of people. So that's potential partners that want to invest. That's VCs, and that's just partners that might talk about us on social media. So, and as far as the raise is going to answer your question. So we've been in talks with numerous VCs. We have a tier one VC in late due diligence. We just got back to them with some answers to their question, I believe, last week. I wish I had AJ on this call right now. They've been really interested in the Reactor as far as like its AI capabilities. We have some angels lined up, and then mostly it's just partners that are waiting for materials to be given to them by our advisors. So obviously we're not, and I'm being completely transparent, we're not where we want to be with that process yet. We started the raise a while back, but as you know, like the market has just been all over the place. We had the initial FTX drama, which put a dent in things. Then there was all of these events where VCs were traveling, and now recently, Gensler, SEC, they decided to go after Coinbase. They decided to go after Kraken, Binance. So all these VCs, their funding timelines, their due diligence periods have prolonged significantly, and a lot of the deals and people we've been talking to, of course, there's that effect where things just are taking longer than we want them to. So
yeah, and worth noting on that point that we've been traveling a lot as a team, and we've done a lot of demos and done a lot of these exhibits. We've also met a lot of other interesting projects in the space, and we've felt that they've shared our concern. It's not like this is just an ARC problem. This is just generally some how can I say latency that's affecting the space right now. On the note of advisors, though, we do have a question here. And again, if you guys haven't checked him out, please go just give a Google. Totally worth reading up on his LinkedIn, seeing some of the articles he's written. But TJ, how did Mike Segal get on board? What did that look like?
Yeah, so he got on board through just our network. He was really interested in our project because how we're building at the native level. Like we're not just someone building UI and connecting to an API. We have this unique technology that can be integrated with other products all across, the tech industry. And when he saw that, we met, we talked more and more, and he was interested in coming on as an advisor. So we have him here.
Awesome. And yeah, just a reminder as well, we put out a press release for that. So, go support and just go take a read through that. I'm sure everyone will find it very interesting. ARC Rules has asked any info on the amount of tokens that are required to be staked. Would it make sense to have a fixed USD amount in ARC to be staked rather than a number of tokens?
So you guys saw, and this goes back to that Easter egg comment I made earlier. So towards the beginning of the AMA, there was some UI that I showed you guys. Just take a guess from there, but it's always been a priority for us to essentially have utility built into the ARC token, and that has never become something we've decided to shirk away from in any way. So yes, we're building utility for that. Yes, it has to do with staking. Yes, it has to do with accessing our products. Please check out that UI.
Awesome. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of people pausing. Maybe we'll see that graph happen on the YouTube video where it's like most popular in that spot. This is what we hope, at least. Matt has asked, do we have any patent for the tech that we've developed? Do we have any plans to do that?
Absolutely not. So one, a patent takes a while, and then two, if we go file a patent, we essentially telegraph exactly what we're doing to the rest of the market. So the way we're protecting our IP is we're registering it to a company that in a jurisdiction that has really strong IP laws. I'm not going to say which specific one, but it's protected for 50 years. And even after the death of the original inventor. And then on the patent side, we're not even we haven't even put our code on GitHub because we don't want anyone to have access to it. So we're not telegraphing our moves with patents, but I can say our code is pretty secure.
Awesome. There's a couple of questions I feel like might still be open-ended after this, and I do want us to just kind of nail this one down. I know I asked this, in a similar fashion, but I do want to. I just want to address what happened with open beta for Reactor. It was promised weeks ago, and right now there's no sign of it. We also haven't released any formal timeline updates or estimations. So is everything okay? What happened there? Can we give the people some clarity as to our internal thinking about that and what led to that delay?
Yeah, and I mentioned a little bit earlier. So, I've been talking about AI since like October last year with Henry. I believe I mentioned it in an AMA or post in November. And we didn't expect the market to move so quickly there. ChatGPT was released, and then Google was just holding on to all this IP they released at the same time. And we also had partners to focus on in our beta stage. So we could either make the decision to have released back then to relatively little fanfare, just hoping our product would really pick up with people, or we could focus on building these features for partners and on integrating the AI to where more people could use the product. And we decided to do that instead of the first option. I believe wholeheartedly if everyone can use the Reactor, like the more people that can use it, the better. And if it's so easy to use, you can just perform an audit in seconds and share it on social media. The potential for virality is much, much higher.
Yep, I think that's a great answer, and I hope that provides some much needed clarity for everyone else. So, guys, I think we've come to the end of our kind of community questions here. If I missed a couple, I really am sorry. A lot poured through. So I'm going to give this chance now. Does anyone have anything more you want to ask? Does anyone want to hop on stage? Again, the StreamYard link is in the AMA channel in Discord. So Eugene does have a question here. Too? Oh yeah, let me drop that in Telegram 1 sec.
Yeah, guys. Happy to have any of you guys come on stage, even people that have FUD or if you have personal attacks, whatever, come on stage. Let's discuss it. I'm open to communicating anything on open forum, open to discussing anything.
Awesome. We've dropped that link in Telegram as well. So if you guys are on Telegram, we'd really appreciate, hearing some voices, seeing some faces. It's always nice in this incredibly distant society that we live in, where everyone's just a username and a profile picture.
Yeah. No, it's actually really nice to see some people's profile pictures in the StreamYard comments here. It's nice getting to see your guys' faces.
Awesome. One question we did have here from Eugene is any updates on the sex listing?
So yes, we've been talking to a lot more sexes. And it's funny that you bring that up. Like a lot of the people we've been talking to that are highly ranked, we find out that a lot of their volume is wash trading. They shouldn't even be in the top 100. So we're still doing our due diligence on sexes, and we want one that's going to partner with us and really focus on that security narrative, because we realize like one of the problems that we could have is we partner with the sex, then we release our products, and then people are using our products to make audits revealing exploits and rug pulls in other projects listed on that sex. Could cause issues. So we just want someone that has the same values as us, essentially.
Yeah, that's and I mean that really nicely follows on to McToken's question, because assuming no sex listing soon, no new capital soon, how long can we do we believe we can keep ARC in business developing without those things?
Sorry, you're gonna have to repeat that question. I was reading something on Discord.
No worries. I'm going to read it word for word. So I said, if you can't get your hands on new capital, for how long do you believe you can keep ARC in business developing?
I believe we can keep ARC in business, provided like World War III or something just happens for at least 2 years.
Awesome. That's very, very nice and reassuring, especially from my position. So
Yeah.
we have one more question again from McToken about L1 integration. I think he just wants some updates around that.
Absolutely. So you might have been seeing more L1s integrated into our DeFi console, but there's some integrations that are coming to the Reactor soon. So that's all I can say. I don't want to give away too much in this call, but we're working with L1s right now. And
yeah, and I mean, oh, sorry, I was just going to say, knowing the internal information, I can imagine how you're burning to just drop that because it's so close, but just not quite yet.
Yeah, well, and to allude to the hint that I dropped earlier, L1s are a really great distribution channel, and they can take advantage of that thing I was talking about earlier that would essentially help them display the reactor to all the people in their communities and actually build on it. So
Awesome. We do have someone in the lobby. Jay, that's your username. Just you make sure you have a mic or a camera connected, so you can hop on. It won't let me add you in without those. But yeah, I'm gonna give him a sec to get that sorted.
Love to see your face.
Yep, that'll be so nice. I have, I don't see any more questions coming in through Discord right now. So I think this might be a good time for this final question, which was sent to us, which is Henry okay?
Is Henry okay? He's more than okay. I just talked to him the other day. He's really focused on developing the AI side of things, and just personally, he's doing great.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. So I'm gonna give Jay like 30 more seconds here to see if he can get his mic and camera working. Again, guys, if there's anyone else that wants to hop on, now is the chance. Also, if you have any more questions, please drop them. I'm gonna go through Telegram real quick. Not quite sure if there's anything in there. Doesn't look like it. So, Jay, it doesn't seem like your devices are coming online. But yeah, if there's no more questions or no more comments, we are getting close to the hour mark here. So I think it's probably a good time to wrap it up here. But I really do hope this shared so much clarity and gave everyone that update and they got all their questions out. Because what we're building here is insane. And it's so frustrating not to be able to show it to you guys the way that we can experience it in-house.
And I'm glad to seriously answer any questions, guys, even if they're wrapped as FUD, even if you want to come on here and cuss me out or whatever. I'm glad to sit here, onboard your concerns, and then show you how we're addressing each single one of those.
We do have one more question that came through here. Yeah. How do you plan to make the Reactor mainstream tech used by a wide audience, and how are these plans developing at the moment?
So I'm going to go back to an analogy I've mentioned a lot in the past, which is that foundation. Foundationally, we're building as wide as we can, and we're building on the best foundation there is. And what we plan to do is have utility that works across all these different industries. So I mentioned encryption, I mentioned Web3 auditing, I also mentioned coding itself, back end services, and it's just making it as easy as possible to integrate into. So I know that's might not be as direct of an answer as you want, but like those exact things I talked about can be seen in that UI that I mentioned earlier. So there's two specific little Easter eggs that I didn't talk about in the Reactor, to where if you guys tag me in social media, I'll explain those fully, and you'll love them because what they represent.
Awesome. We have one more that filtered through here. I was going to skip it because I thought maybe it's not totally on topic, but it does fit with concerns about how this affects ARK. So there is a crypto crackdown happening in the USA, or a quote crypto crackdown. What are your views on what's been happening recently? How do you think this is going to affect ARK?
So, despite me and my personal bias towards what's going on, we are going to be fully compliant and follow the law. So what we've done to do that is essentially build multiple entities in different jurisdictions that outsource different pieces. So we're not breaking, specific laws in the U.S. And that's through, if you've been here for several months, it's through the lawyer conversations we had in the past, all the way to, what we're doing now and how we're separating things off per jurisdiction. But yeah, I mean, my general view on the crypto crackdown, I don't want to get too deep into it, but it's really weird, the timing of it. You see China getting back into crypto, you see BlackRock investing in Bitcoin, but the US is just going to make all these announcements that they're attacking the space. And it's like, all I have to say is look at people's actions rather than their words, and look at how those actions benefit others and who they benefit. That's all I have to say about that.
Awesome. Yep, I think Ben and Eve might have had a question that we didn't answer, although I do think we did touch on it. Ben and Eve, if you just want to drop a question in case we might have missed you in the YouTube chat, feel free.
Yeah,
but
you can
other
hop
than
on
that,
too,
yeah,
well
you can.
Jay.
Feel free. Yeah, Jay seems still to be having some issues. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Jay today.
That's my 50% brother right there.
That's
my other half.
Nice. Cool. Well, it does look like the questions have come to a standstill. So I do think this might be a good time to call it, getting on the hour mark here as well.
Yeah, I think this is a great time. Well, glad to have fielded your questions today, guys. And, I'm just so grateful for the opportunity and the faith that you placed in me and the team. And I can assure you, we are working our utmost to get these products out and to just change the world, delivering value and utility to millions of people around the world and being faithful to you guys. So thank you for being on this AMA and just supporting us as you have over the past couple of years.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.